Fubar. A liter can of the beer you used to drink that at first is kind of hard to get down, but by the end of it, you're ready to shotgun a second one and party hard. So we're just giving her today on the reviews for Fubar. Let's get into it. I'm focusing on the films, the two films. They continued the franchise, if you want to call it that, with Vice and SwearNet. Did a thing called Age of Computer, and then the thing they're doing now with SwearNet and Trailer Park Boys, kind of getting together there to continue the Fubar legacy. But we are focusing again on the two films, Fubar, Fubar 2. That is what we're going to focus on. So, let's give it a go. Right off the bat, I would say it is very blue collar, very lowbrow, crude, and irreverent, and however many other synonyms we can fit in there for cheap, dirty humor. It is a mockumentary. Okay, so keep that in mind, especially the first one. We're going to talk about both of them here. Director, writer, Michael Dowse, or Dowsey, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Paul Spence and David Lawrence, who play our two main characters of Terry and Diener. They also wrote for both of the films as well. And I would say, just to add to the cast of great importance, especially in the second film, Andrew Sparacino is how I'm going to say it, who plays Tron. So, again, much more important in the second film than the first, but we're going to get into it a bit here. I think we can do this without spoilers, which is always good. I'm trying to do that a little more these days. So the first one came out in 2002, which blows my mind because I was still in high school. I did not hear about this thing until 10 years later, maybe. Like, I think it was 2012, and I don't remember how it happened. I don't know if it was on Netflix, and someone I knew watched it and said something about it, and they're like, man, I knew people like this back in, like, Medicine Hat, and I was like, what? And I don't think they were incredibly impressed with the movie, but they had seen it, and kind of got me interested in it, and I watched the first one. Again, this is around 2012. This is about 10 years after it came out. Like, it just wasn't on my radar. I was in high school. This is before streaming services, kind of before YouTube too, and like, I just didn't hear about it. And then, I don't know how funny I would have found it then, or if it would have been better then than later. I don't know. The second one came out in 2010, so it was already out by the time I watched the first one. So, we'll get into the transition between the first and the second a little later. But anyway, the first one came out in 2002, second one in 2010. Target audience, I would say we're looking at people that are very Canadian. I would say that first and foremost, what's more important here? I guess, like, enjoying the lowbrow humor in a mockumentary style, and also, I guess it doesn't even have to be enjoying mockumentaries, just enjoying lowbrow humor. But this is inherently Canadian. Like, I feel like it's just so Canadian, except it's not doing it in a way that's cheap. I mentioned cheap laughs before, but the Canadiana in here is just a part of it. It's just very natural. And I think that viewers that are outside of Canadian culture won't get as much out of it. I think that they could enjoy it, but it's not like it's going to be an educational tool for them either, where they're like, oh, this is Canada, these are Canadians, I get it. Like, nah, not really. It's just done in a way that it's not like... It does a really good job of it just being very natural. It's not doing it in a way of like, hey, this is what Canadians are like, or like, I don't know. And again, it gets very specific to even just like Southern Alberta. There are some things that seem very specific to that, and also subculture of what they call bangers, or just these dudes that are into like what used to pass for heavy metal back in the day, and like, you know, being into Def Leppard and that type of hair metal and stuff like that. But that's not a big focus. Like the first one because it is much more of a mockumentary, and it is shot, and you're very aware that it's supposed to be in a documentary style. They kind of point out the music they listen to a whole bunch, and even on the DVD cover for the first one, it says that it's the best rock and roll movie in years. And I don't find it to be a rock and roll movie, but that's just me. I find it to be this very lowbrow comedy that's done in this mockumentary style about specifically like these type of dudes in southern Alberta, or these type of dudes living in Calgary, or whatever. I think that if you know folks in southern Alberta, or if you've ever lived there at certain periods, you just have more insight, and thus it's more relatable, and thus you'd find it funnier and enjoy it more. Now, what is Fubar about? Let's go through the acronym first of all. So, growing up, I heard this acronym not very often, but actually I heard it in two ways. One is fucked up beyond a recognition, or fucked up beyond repair. So sometimes people just talked about it with like vehicles or things like, yeah, I totaled my car, it's Fubar'd. Like, but I didn't hear that language a lot. But yeah, so right off the bat with the title, that's where we're going with this. Again, irreverent, lowbrow, crude, and it gets worse. So at least in the first one. But what is the story about? Again, without spoilers, it's kind of a story about friendship in this weird, messed up way. It's a story of friendship amongst idiots, is what I would call it. And it's really about how you can pick yourself up and keep giving her. That's really what I would say these are about. Now, again, they are two distinctly different movies. The first one is a mockumentary. The second one kind of carries that through, but it's very much more theatrical, film, cinema, movie. Like, it is not pushing this mockumentary thing anymore, even though there are some parts of it that still have a little bit of that just left over from the first one. The second one is a Christmas movie. Honestly, there's Christmas miracles. It's just like as any Christmas movie is pretty much just about family and friendship and love, and people coming together and getting through hard times and just realizing the importance, or what's really important. And I would say that's definitely what the second one is. I would tell you right now, I believe the second one is hands above the first one in quality and for enjoyment. Like, I rewatch the second one as a Christmas movie sometimes, but the first one I would only watch if I'm watching it with somebody who's never seen it before, only because you need the first one for setup. I don't find it as enjoyable as the second. I still think it's funny, but the second one is like twice as good. So I would say you need the first one for setup. You just need it. There's just no question. You need the first one to set up the second. But the second one has much more value to me, and it's just funnier. I enjoy sharing it with people. I enjoy the second one being like a Christmas movie. But again, like, it fits into a pocket or a genre for me that it is just very niche without trying too hard. It just seems very natural, and I like that. Again, I spent time in southern Alberta up until I was 11, and then I was in Saskatchewan until I was in my late 20s, and then I moved back to southern Alberta. And so I've spent time just on the prairies in general for my whole life, and the majority of that being in Alberta. So in southern Alberta, 2 hours away from Calgary. So I don't relate to it on a personal level of like, oh, that's me and my friends. No, I relate to it in being like, I feel like I know these people. I can see these people in my head. I've been around it. I just like, it's a part of a culture. And the funny thing is, maybe it's not that funny, it has spawned some more culture, and I don't want to give them the presence here, but there's people that have gone on to use one of the they've gone to use something from the first movie as their moniker and have created like merchandise and a clothing brand and their own little subculture. However, it seems to be a lot more toxic than Fubar is, because there's a lot of sexism and racism and misogyny and other things that get taken to a more, I would say, like, Fubar it started off as a mockumentary. We're kind of making fun of these people a bit, and also their naivety, for sure. But again, it has spawned, like, other than just having like a cult following or being like a cult movie, like, it has spawned like this other group of people that have a name and like have social media presence and sell products, and it's based off of the Fubar brand, and they have turned it into something, but they more or less live that lifestyle and are those people, and it's not like they're even in on the joke. Like, they are a joke, and they wear that with pride. That's all I'm going to say about that. I didn't think I was going to get into that, but I was just talking about subcultures, right? So, yeah, it just represents this subculture and people that you most likely know if you've grown up or lived on the prairies for a while. Certain type of attitudes and just like, I don't know, but it's fun. Like, I believe, like, the movies are fun. I don't, I don't believe they're meant to be of harm to anybody. But again, we've got a lot of crude and lowbrow humor. It's not a smart movie by any means. It's not meant to be, and it doesn't have to be in order to be enjoyed. I do enjoy smart, intelligent humor too, but this stuff it's got its own flavor, and I enjoy it. It's funny. That's the thing. If you can get into that type of stuff, I hope that you would also find it funny. It is a good time, but only if you're into that kind of thing. So, again, is it an important film, or is the series important? No. Functionally, is it fun? Yes. I think that's just the purpose that it serves, just to be entertaining and fun, and just to kind of like be tongue-in-cheek and poke fun at certain types of people. And also, it's just, I don't know, those characters, they must be just so fun to just play. And they might not be all that different than some of the people that they are or grew up with or have been at certain times in their lives, and they have just extended that character and turned it up to 10. And that type of caricature is funny. That's just what it is. Where is it on the shelf? I would say the first one is kind of low to mid on my shelf, but it was interesting enough. So let's lean more towards the middle of my shelf. It was fun enough at that time that I was interested in watching the second one. And the second one is kind of mid-high on my shelf. Again, closer to the middle than high on my shelf. But they're both keepers, and I enjoy showing them to people that I think might be able to appreciate them on is not always the same level that I appreciate it on, but that they can at least appreciate it somewhat. And yeah, it's also just dark humor. I would say that the second one more so than the first. The first one, just like the certain aspects that become crude. The first one has more of those flavors that are not great in reality, of like misogyny, racism, sexism. Those things happen in that first one that are more just a part of the characters. And the second one, they're not really there. I think that they just 8 years had passed. They don't need those elements in the story. I don't want to say that it's more responsible storytelling. It's just that those characters don't need to have that there. But the second one is still just as lowbrow, but it leans more into dark humor, which I personally enjoy a lot. So there's a lot of references in there that I still use to this day. And the thing is, like, there's self-deprecating humor, and there's just like a certain amount of dark humor that helps me get through dark times. And so again, that second one, it's, you've got Christmas miracles happening. You've got the spirit of Christmas, like, but there's things in there that just like, yeah, they help me get through some dark times for sure. And yeah, I would say that if you're into wanting to get into some Canadiana in this way with these two characters, I don't know if I call them lovable characters, but I enjoy them and their friendship to a degree. Sometimes they're frustrating, but never long enough to make me really frustrated at the film. But yeah, it's about friendship and love. Fubar.